Welcome back to another episode of the Pink Juice podcast. Today I am actually going to be talking about a very, very juicy topic, which I feel like so many women, not just women but men also struggle with when they hit like their late 20s, early 30s mark, or maybe even beyond that. I'm going to be yapping about the stage in your life where basically you're single, your friends are getting married, they're getting engaged, they're buying houses, they're having babies, and you're just out here trying to live your best life, but you can't help but feel lonely, feel left behind. And yeah, that's what I'm going to yap about today. I am not a very good planner when it comes to these podcasts. Like, I scheduled time in the studio today to come and record this, and I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. So basically, I just asked on my stories, what should I talk about? And this was the first thing that came up. So I was like, great, because I feel like I could talk about this for hours. So let's get into it. I feel like this is something that a lot of women and men struggle with. I just think there is definitely a big difference between men and women, because I feel like a lot of women are a lot more open about this, and they speak a little bit more openly about this, whereas men don't. Men tend to like hide it, which makes me think like, oh, men struggling with this more. I'm not going to talk about gender differences on this topic too much in this podcast, because I'm not a man. I can only speak from my experience, and I don't really understand a male's perspective from this. But yeah, I do feel like women do get a lot more shit for this, like for not being married, not having kids. Like, I feel like sometimes it's more acceptable for a woman who is 30 to be single, not married, not own a house, not be engaged, than it is for a man. That's just my experience. But the main things that I'm going to talk about in this podcast is the struggles that we deal with when it comes to this kind of topic, like the feelings that we deal with, the emotions that we deal with, the things that people say to us, especially during this stage of our life. But I'm also going to touch upon the benefits of being single and why we should really embrace this era as women, because I have only recently in the past few months started embracing this era, which has actually led me to starting this podcast. And I am genuinely obsessed with this era. Like, I am loving this single, living her best life version of myself. And I feel like up until that point, I'd always just been like, oh my God, where's my husband? I want my husband. When am I going to get married? When am I going to get engaged? And it's only really the past few months that I've started embracing this phase. And once you start embracing it, it is amazing. It feels amazing. So firstly, let's just talk about the struggles that we deal with when it comes to being in this situation, when your friends are starting to get married, have houses, have babies. So I basically asked you guys, I asked on my Instagram stories, like, well, what are you actually struggling with? Because I didn't want to just make this up. So let's talk about it. I've kind of put this together in themes. So the big theme that comes up, the main one, is kind of like the shifts in friendships and then also feeling behind after your friendships. So someone wrote on Instagram that you feel like you're losing all your friends to their new lives and you have to help build a whole new community. And I feel like this is so true, because it does almost feel like your friends have got this whole new life, whereas you're living kind of the same life. But all I'm going to say about this is friendship evolution is a natural process in life. Like, it's gonna happen. If it's not gonna happen in this stage, it's gonna happen in another stage. If it's not your friends, it's you that's gonna be evolving in some other way. And that is always gonna happen. Like, think about it. When you left school, your friendships changed. You know, when you retire, your friendships are gonna change. And that really is a natural cycle of life. Friendships are gonna ebb and flow. So yeah, no matter what age, circumstances you are in, you are always going to have to rebuild new communities. And this is like, it's so important that you don't get complacent in your friendships, that you don't just think that your friendships are going to stay like that with you for the rest of your life, because it's very unrealistic and it doesn't happen. And you always have to be looking out there to make new communities, to make new friendships, because it's just silly to assume that you're gonna stay friends in the exact same way with the exact same people, because as people we change. That's okay. That is really a part of life. Another challenge that we struggle with under this theme is your friends forgetting about you and thinking that they are exempt from making any effort. This is a difficult one, because I feel like your true friends who love you, care about you deeply would not do this. I do this a lot, and I evaluate my friendships a lot. And I think you have to just ask yourself, like, well, what is this friendship serving me? Is this friendship good for me? Like, why do you actually want a friendship like that? You know, so if someone has genuinely forgot about you and is not interested in you, then do you genuinely want a friendship like that? Like, I think those are questions that you really need to ask yourself. And maybe the reason that you are experiencing these emotions, these shifts in your friendships is pushing you in a direction to explore that. Sometimes it just happens because we're in different routines, and that's okay. Like, if your friend is moving house, is getting married, is having a baby, their mind is just filled with completely different things than yours is, and they're in a different routine. That's okay for them, and it's okay for you to also feel that way. But it's so important that if you really want to maintain your friendships, that you need to communicate with them. You need to make the time, the conscious time and effort to communicate how you're feeling, because they just might not be able to see it, and no one's a mind reader, right? So just communicate with them and have that conversation. Be willing to sit down with them and have that conversation. If they still choose not to act upon it after then you've communicated and opened up to them, well, then maybe that's just time to let that friendship go for that moment in your life. Might not be forever, but maybe it's just not aligning with you and what you both need at that time. Just acknowledge that it is just a season in your life that you're going through, and it's a season of their life that they're going through. And don't force friendships as well. Like, friendships are going to evolve. Let them evolve. Let them drift apart a little bit. Like, it is a natural evolution and a natural process of life. And friendships really go through seasons. They have their summers, which are amazing, and sometimes they have their winters when they're not, and that's fine. So another struggle that we deal with is, someone said, I'm the only one in my group of 8 without a boyfriend or kids. They don't understand me or modern dating. So this is a tough one, because I feel like when you are in that situation and when you're in a group of like 8 and everyone's a couple, they end up having these conversations that they have like a shared understanding of, and you don't. So you almost end up filtering what you say. And I think also shrinking yourself down is a difficult one, because your brain then does get filled with these thoughts, thinking that you're the one that's being left behind or you're the odd one out. But, you know, we're all on our own timeline. We're all on our own path. And you have to, I think, in these situations, have friendships that consist with both. If you have a friendship group that is only couples and it's making you feel down or making you feel left out or behind, then you do need to look at creating a community or finding other friends elsewhere as well. Not to replace them, but I think it's good to have that benefit of both. Also kind of limiting time with them. Like, if you know that you're getting drained after spending, say, a whole day with your friends that are all couples, then don't put yourself in a situation where you're spending a whole day with them. Put yourself in a situation where you're just going for dinner with them or going for a drink or coffee or whatever. You don't have to be spending all your time with them, is what I'm trying to get at. Someone else also put trying to relate to them and not being able to. This is actually, I feel like, a tough one for both sides of the friendships, because your friends are experiencing something that you're not experiencing. So you're probably both really struggling to relate to each other. And ultimately, I think the best solution to this is to find something that you both can talk about, and find an activity or a hobby or an enjoyment that you both can talk about, that you both have something in common. And just because you can't relate or you're not in the same situation as your friend, likewise to them, does not mean that you still can't offer each other safe spaces to be seen and heard. And back when I used to work in the addiction treatment centre, I actually struggled with this quite a lot, because I was working in support care in an addiction treatment centre. And I remember having a conversation with my supervisor and just saying, like, I feel like I can't really help these people because I don't have the experience of addiction. And I remember them just having a conversation with me and sitting down and just being like, you don't have to have that experience. Like, you may be able to offer that person a golden nugget of any sort of advice or any kindness that is going to really help throughout the day. And just the fact that you're showing up for that person is also just enough. And I think that really made me think that actually you're going to experience and come across people every single day in your life that you don't have the same experiences. You might not understand, you might not relate, but that doesn't mean you still can't hold that space for them. I also think good friendships have that duty. Like, if you want to be a good friend, like, you have a duty to create a space for your friend where they feel safe, seen, where they feel safe enough to open up to you, like, and making sure that, hey, this is a safe space. I may not understand, I may not relate, but I'm here, I'm listening, and if you want to share something, you can share something. I don't think necessarily having that relation is a strong indicator of good quality friendships. Like, just because one friend has a house and is getting married and engaged, but the other one doesn't mean that you can't have a strong friendship. It just means that you don't maybe understand those experiences. But ultimately, the best, I think, indicator of strong friendships is being able to hold that space for each other where you both feel safe and seen, you both feel safe to be heard, but also communicating with each other and having empathy and listening and not actually having shared understanding. Those are the quality things that make friendships strong. And I think we need to remember that, like, you don't actually have to relate to your friends and they don't have to relate to you. And that's okay. I honestly have a lot of friends that are in couples, but I actually also have a lot of single friends as well. And I think the reason that I have such really successful friendships with my friends who are in relationships that are getting engaged, are getting married, is because we communicate, we hold spaces for each other, we see each other as single people, not as people in relationships or people in partnerships. And I think that's also really important. I actually recently also said this to my best friend. I was like, I think the reason we have such a strong friendship is because we do a lot of things together, we do a lot of activities together, just me and you. So even though I don't understand what the process is like of going through buying a house, because that's just not my timeline at the moment. I am completely single and she's just got engaged. She's planning a wedding. I'm so excited and happy for her. I don't understand that process fully, but we're able to communicate about it. And I love it when she opens up to me about it. And sometimes I do feel a little bit guilty that I don't have that understanding for her, but I know that I can offer her like the hypeness that I know that I can give. And we spend so much quality time together outside of that, that I think ultimately we're just two human beings hanging out with each other. And I think that's what makes our friendship so successful. Likewise for her, she can't relate to my dating life either. She doesn't have to. We don't need to relate to these things. Yeah, someone else actually also said that they also struggle with being the third, fifth, and seventh wheel. And I actually feel like sometimes this can be quite a positive thing, especially if you're like going to events as well with people. Obviously, it can be a little bit shitty. My only really experience of this has been at Glastonbury last year. I went to Glastonbury Festival with my friends. Pretty much most of my friends there were like in couples. I was like the only single person there. There was of course like times when you're like walking through the crowd and you know like all the couples are holding hands, like looking out for each other, and I was like, oh my god, who's looking out for me, you know? But at the same time, I feel like you almost kind of get babied sometimes as well. So people kind of like take you under your wing and under your arm. And like, that is actually so nice. It's so nice to know that like all these couples are also like looking after you as well in some ways. And I ended up spending like the whole weekend with my friend Maisie and Sunny. So big up to you guys if you're listening. I just had the best time with them because I just felt like I was their child and I was just like being looked after mum and dad. And it was great. I loved it. I was like, it was amazing. It was so much fun. I get that you can feel that social isolation when you are in those groups and everyone's a couple, but like try and embrace it as well. Like you're not always going to be able to have that opportunity to be like the baby, the single baby of the group. So like milk it. Why not? Yeah, obviously, if your friends are explicitly excluding you, like that is obviously such a big issue and a big red flag. But if, you know, you have good friends, like just let them take care of you, you know? Okay, the second big theme that kept coming up when you guys were sharing your like feelings and struggles is the emotional struggles and kind of the internal and societal pressures that everyone puts on you. So the main one is feeling like you're behind. And I'm gonna be honest, I have not met a single person in my life, no matter what stage of life that they're in, that feels like they're on time. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Every single person that I know feels behind because we're all comparing, and it's natural for humans to compare. Like, we all compare. So I have never in my life met someone who has never felt not behind. I'm just going to say that there. And you need to remember that. You're probably going to, when you get married or have children, you're probably going to feel behind to someone or something else as well. I feel like, yeah, society does contribute to that a lot, especially for women, like making us feel like we have to be doing the next thing. Like, if you are single, why are you not in a relationship? If you are in a relationship, well, why are you not engaged? If you're engaged, it's like, well, when are you going to get married? When you get married, it's like, well, when are you going to have babies, right? It's always the next thing, right? And why can't we just leave women the F alone? Like, we're all on our own timeline. It's hard, and I'd love to sit here and say that, like, I don't feel left behind. I feel like I'm right on time, but that would be completely bullshit. And of course I get those feelings all the time, but I think we just need to remember as well, like, the comparison is biggest thief of joy in any aspect of your life. Another thing that someone shared with me is the struggle that they constantly feel like, when is it my turn? And you cannot rush these things, guys. You cannot rush these things, you know. I went to this like quantum physics healing session a couple of weeks ago, and I read this thing that basically blew my mind, which kind of said that you have an infinite number of ways and an infinite amount of time to get to where you want to be. It kind of just blew my mind, because it basically said that, think about Google Maps, right? If you put in a destination into Google Maps, right, it gives you one route out of, say, 50 different routes that you can take, right? That particular route might be 23 minutes to get there. But say you take a wrong turn, then that'll give you another route. And it's kind of like life, you know. Sometimes we make decisions that it might take us a little bit longer to get there. Maybe it might take us less time. Maybe it might take us more steps. It might take us less steps. And that can be applied to any single area of life. And I just thought that that was so powerful, because I was like, wow, it's so comforting and reassuring to know that, like, I will get there. Like, remember, you're going to get there and your turn will come. That person just happened to take a different route and you're taking a different one. Another struggle that someone shared is the fear that it may never happen to you. And I feel this so deeply, because that is my biggest fear in life. Like, I'm not going to be one of those girls that sits here and says, I'm going to be so happy being single for the rest of my life. No, because I know that I want a partnership and I want a relationship. And I do have a big fear that, well, what if it doesn't happen to me? But I also feel like, what if that fear, and I feel like this is so real, prevents us from finding that love. And I think sometimes we're so focused on how do we get that thing that we don't think about, well, how do we get rid of the fear? You know, we want love. I really want love. I really want the partner. I want this, I want that. But I have so much fear, and we don't sit there and think about, well, how do I get rid of the fear? And I sometimes think that fear prevents us from actually getting that partner. Yeah, another one that someone shared as well, that feeling like you aren't worthy of love. And being the only single one does trigger a lot of those thoughts, because if your friends have the thing that you want, like love, relationships, and then you start to think like, well, why don't I have that? Am I not worthy of that? And especially if you have been dating, you've got past experiences of like rejection, heartbreak, ghosting, whatever in the dating world, that can also really impact those feelings. And we need to find our sense of self-worth outside of relationships. You are worthy. We are all worthy. And the relationship is not going to give you that sense of love and sense of self-worth. Like, you might think it will, but it won't. Like, you need to find that from within, and you need to find that validation for yourself, and like how are you going to show love to yourself, which is very, very hard, but I think something that it takes a long time to build. Once you get to that point where you are so like, I am worthy of love and I know what I want and I love myself, I think that is when you will really attract the most aligned and incredible man who is going to be there for you, or partner. Another struggle that someone shared is, this is a really one that I resonate so deeply with. I think the emotional roller coaster of being happy where I am, but also aware that it is something I want in the future. Always feeling conflicted or like I'm doing something wrong. This is so real because we forget, I think, in society that two things can coexist at the same time. And I think that is something that is not talked about enough at all. You can be happy whilst being single, but at the same time wanting to have a loving relationship and a partner. Those things can coexist. I'm happily single, but I also know that I want a future partner. I want a man. I want a husband. I also know I want a family. I want to be a mom. I do want to have my own apartment. I do want to have an engagement ring on my finger. Like, I know I want those things. But I can also be happy at this moment in time. And I think society makes you believe that if you're happily single, then that's almost like a bad thing because you then can't have the other stuff too. And that's not the case at all. But also what I'm going to say about this is that statement alone and knowing that you are happy and wanting those things is incredible self-awareness. And I think if you have that, you're already miles ahead than most people, because a lot of people think I can't be single and be happy, which is not true. You can be single and be happy and want those things, and you can also be single and happy and not want those things. Those things can coexist. It is such an incredible skill to have that awareness and understand, like, well, what stage are you in? How are you feeling, and what do you want and what don't you want? Another theme actually that came up when it comes to struggles is judgment and pity. And someone wrote how they feel pity for me even though I'm living my best child-free life that I chose. With the fact, why is society so obsessed with couplehood meaning success? Just because you're in a couple does not mean you automatically have success or that you are in a good relationship. And we need to remember that there are so many couples out there that hate each other. I'm sorry, I would so much rather be single and know that when the partner comes into my life, I'm gonna love him, than be in a relationship where I hate my partner. Like, can we just think about that for a second? There are so many people out there that are living in these relationships and they hate each other. Come on. And I also feel like when people pity you, I think they are projecting some sort of insecurity of theirs onto you. And I feel like, well, maybe you need to think like, okay, if they are pitying you that you don't have kids or that you don't have the apartment, maybe on some level they are craving the freedom that you have, and that's why they are pitying you. I feel like it says so much more about them than you. And also I feel like, yeah, that is something I always think, like, well, if you're pitying me for being single, what part of my single life are you craving that you're pitying? Think about that, because I'm not pitying the fact that you're in a relationship. Like, oh, I feel so sorry for you that you're in a relationship and you're not living your best freedom. Like, what? Why? Like, if society started flicking these things around, like, it just would not, like, it would just, I don't know, it's just so crazy for me in my mind. When people say to you, like, well, when are you going to have kids? Or why are you still single? Why are we not turning around to people and now saying, well, why do you have kids? And I think we should start doing that. I think for every single person that turns around to a single woman and says, well, why are you still single? We should then turn around to that person. You're like, well, why are you in a relationship? Why are you in a relationship with a person that you don't fucking even like, you know? Then they'd shut the fuck up. And when people start saying to you, even if you are engaged or married, well, when are you having kids? Why are you not having kids? Why don't we start asking people, well, why did you have kids? Because I genuinely think we are living in a society where so many people are doing things by default, like getting the house, getting married, having the kids. without thinking and having these conversations internally and with the partner about them. And I think a society that is just having kids because it's something that you're meant to do is so much more dangerous than a society of women and men that are choosing consciously not to have children. Make it make sense. Like, why? That is something I don't understand. Like, it is so much more dangerous for people going out there just making babies, becoming a parent without even thinking, okay, you're becoming a parent, right? To have a child, you need to sit there and think, okay, I'm going to have a child and I'm going to be a parent. If you have not thought these things through and you just having kids because it's the next step or it's what you should do, that is dangerous. That is so dangerous than people who are consciously making those decisions as to why they're not going to have children. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it just doesn't, like, I just don't get it. Like, yeah, I think pity says so much more about other people than them. If you are making your own decisions out of thought processes, awareness, and thinking things through, then you're good. You're good. So that brings me to the end of the struggles, and I feel like I've covered most of them. And now I'm going to talk about the annoying things that people have said to me. And these are real things that people have shared. And this one makes my blood boil, and it's, you can do XYZ because you have more time off and less commitments. This one makes me so angry, and it completely dismisses your responsibilities, your own goals, your own tasks, and the own commitments that you have. Because if you are with a partner and you have a child, okay, yes, there's two people looking after things, you know, yes, you are looking after a human, but there is two people in that dynamic. Whereas as a single woman, I carry so much already, and on top of everything that I have to physically carry and survive on a day-to-day basis, I then have to deal with your bullshit and your comments. Like, no, just no. And I feel like sometimes maybe people try and make it seem like if you can do all these things because you don't have kids, it's like, oh, well, it's your perk. I'm like, yeah, but I'm choosing not to have a partner right now. You know, we all make choices. All of my previous relationships, I could have been married to them. I could have been engaged right now, right? But I made conscious choices not to because of my own reasons as to why I didn't think it was right or why it wasn't aligned. And the same with you. If you are choosing to have children, you are making conscious choices. If you're choosing to buy a house, you are making conscious choices to do those things. So don't come at me just because I'm single. I'm carrying so much already and dating on top of that. And then on top of that, you're giving me shit that I'm single. Come on, get fucked. And yeah, I mean, I get asked this all the time, but like, why is a woman like you single? And it's just so annoying because I'm like, I am choosing to be single because I'm in an era of self-discovery. I'm in an era of dating, figuring out what it is, what I want, what I don't want. And like I say, all of my previous relationships, and this goes without saying for anyone, could have worked out, but they didn't because we were making choices not to. We were making choices. Like, me and my ex went our separate ways. We both made that choice, but we could have also made the choice to stay together, to get married, to get engaged, whatever. But we didn't, and it was because I didn't want to settle either. I didn't want to settle and be with someone that I didn't feel aligned with. Okay, another really annoying one when people say is like, love will come when you least expect it. And I feel actually, this is actually so true from all of my friends that are in what I would call the successful couples, because I definitely also have a lot of people in my life and a lot of people that I know that I'm looking at the relationships and I'm just like, this is not how I could ever have my relationship. But then I have like couples that I'm like, yeah, you guys are gods, you guys are inspiration, and I look up to you. All of those, everyone says like it just came at the right time, it happened when you least expected it. And I feel like I'm in the era of like, now if my husband comes wrong, I'm gonna be pissed off because I'm enjoying this single life. So if he comes here tomorrow, I'm actually gonna be like, honey, you're gonna have to go wait, just give me a few months and then come back because I'm really enjoying this. Yeah, the final annoying thing that I feel like people say is like, well, why, like, when are you finally gonna settle down? And like, to me, settling down, when people say, well, when are you going to settle down? To me, settling down for a life that I don't want, basically. And if I was to commit to buying a house right now, which I probably could, I would be settling to do something I don't want to do. Right now, I'm really enjoying being single, traveling around the world, building my business, renting, because that's what feels aligned with me. I like to move around quite a lot. I'm very nomadic. I can work from anywhere. So that is the life that I'm choosing, because I've worked really hard to get this life and I really love this life. And if I was to go back to the UK and buy a house, I would then be settling down. Yeah, but I would be settling down for a life that I don't truly want. That's to me what I feel settling down is. To me, settling down isn't buying a house, having kids. To me, settling down is settling for a life that you don't want. And I think we also need to stop assuming that a lot of people that are doing those things are settling down, because again, they could be, but they could also want that. Like, they might not want, there's a lot of people out there that might not want to live my lifestyle. Actually, they do really want to, start a family and have their own house and be a homebody and whatever, and like have their job. For those people, my lifestyle is an idea of a nightmare, and I wouldn't necessarily say that they are settling down. They are just choosing a life that feels the most aligned with them, and that's what I personally believe is settling down. So I don't think I will ever settle down, ever, because I'm never going to settle down for a life that I don't want, and I will always create the life that I want. Okay, so we've talked enough about struggles, we've talked enough about the annoying things that people say to you, and I just want to talk about the benefits of being single, guys, because if you're listening and you are feeling down in the dumps about being single, like, I just want you to know that being single is so, so much fun. And I feel like when you start to embrace it, you really end up feeling like the joy of the single life. And this has been me in the past few months. And I'm just obsessed with being single. And I'm obsessed with the version of who I am when I'm single as well. You have so much freedom. You can do what you want, whenever you want. You can travel when you want. You can travel solo, which I know a lot of my friends that are relationship, they do travel solo, but I do think they struggle a little bit more because, you have to update your partner. You have to keep them in the loop, even if you are traveling solo. You have your own independence. You can do things for yourself. And I think once you do reach the certain level of independence, you do just grow into this incredible person. I love being independent. Don't get me wrong. I do also love being a princess. And like when I am dating or when I am with a man, like I love being looked after. But the only reason that I can accept and love and want someone to look after me is because I've looked after so much of myself. I know what independence is to me. And when a man comes along, like he has a standard to meet, and that is me. Like I've set that standard because of my own independence and of looking after myself. So he can't just come and show up and give me the bare minimum, because you have to give me more. You have to add something to my life. If you're not, then why would I stick with you? As a single person, you can develop such deep friendships because of the time that you have. Like dating takes up a lot of your time. Marriage takes up a lot of your time. It is something that you have to nurture that relationship. Of course, you can't just do everything all at once, right? So being single allows you to really give you all into friendships and develop really deep friendships and female friendships as well. Like girlhood is just amazing, and having that time to be able to do that and do girly things is beautiful. You also practice. You can practice dating. You can practice regulating. For me right now, I am finding dating and speaking to men very, very triggering. But at the same time, I'm practicing so much of that so that hopefully that when my man comes, I can be more emotionally intelligent. I would say I already am, I think. But I have a lot more emotional security, I hope. And I'm not just some like triggered mess, because I've practiced and I've been able to regulate a lot more. So, and I think these are just so many beautiful things like of being single. You get to have fun, you get to flirt, you get to just go out there and just treat it as a game. It's just fun. Not as in like game of like going out and hurting people's feelings, but just like a game for yourself. Like, who can I be today? You get to reinvent yourself every single day as a single person, which I just think is incredible, and I think more women need to just start embracing being single, because being single and time alone is such a gift. It is a gift. We need to just make the most of it. If you are a friend that is listening to this and in a relationship, I do just want to say a little bit of a side note, because there might be, I just want to give you a little bit piece of advice on how you can nourish your friendships with people that are single. And first of all, be inclusive. Can you please still invite your friends to places? Don't assume that they're lonely or sad. Check in with them, ask about them, their life from genuine care. Don't make comments about timelines. Make sure that you make time for them outside of your relationship, that you communicate with them and you meet them in the middle. There is no one out there is living a better or worse life, so don't see that you are. I think, I have a lot of girl friendships that are in couples, and the most successful friendships that I have with my female girlfriends are the ones that we actually make time for each other, like regularly outside of our relationship. None of our conversations consist on just me being single or just them being in a relationship. We actually have other things to talk about. Like, I think that is the important thing as well. So before I wrap this episode, I am going to give 2 big pieces of advice on how to navigate this season of your life. And if you are currently feeling lonely or sad that all your friends are in relationships and you're feeling a little bit left behind, then here are 2 pieces of advice that I'm going to give you. The first piece of advice being, you need to anchor into some sort of purpose, because you need to find something bigger than you. So have some sort of why, because your why is going to be the thing that gets you out of bed every single day. And it could be like a hobby, it could be your passion, your purpose. It needs to just be something that, gives you a state of flow and that you feel very fulfilled doing. Because if you're someone right now that's currently experiencing a lot of these feelings and say that you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have hobbies, you hate your job, of course you're going to feel those things so much more. You need to find something that gives you joy and meaning in every single day of your life, because it's gonna keep you grounded. And for me, I run my business Females Flying Solo, which I started 2 years ago, and that is my purpose. Like, that is my why. I genuinely believe that I was put on this earth to do multiple things. One of them is to help more women travel, more women feel confident, and that is the thing that motivates me most days. Like, I love what I do, I love my job, and I don't care that I'm doing something different to my friends. I don't care that my friends are doing certain things, because I'm so focused in on this why and I'm so anchored in on it that I don't really feel left behind a lot of the time. And I'd be lying if I say that I never do, because I don't think anyone ever does. But a lot of the time I feel very like, if I do ever feel left behind, it's mainly a little bit to like people in business and in careers. But it's just, I'm so anchored into my purpose. I have a vision and a dream and I work on it, and it just grounds me when I do feel those sense of comparison or loneliness in comparison to my friends that might be living a slightly different life to me. And the second piece of advice is, you need to build a community. It's hard. Building a community is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. But you're going to have to do it. Every single one of us has done it at some point in our lives, and you're probably going to have to do it multiple times again. So if you're trying to get away from building a community because making friends is scary, yeah, it is scary, but you're going to have to do it all throughout your life. We all do, because community is something, when you're around people that energize you, it is so incredible. And being around like-minded people, and I don't just mean single people, like-minded people that have some sort of shared understanding and shared interest that you can talk to about, is going to be so, so, so important. So for me, I actually have 2 communities. My first community being my actual business, Females Flying Solo, which is actually why I started this. I was feeling lonely when I was solo traveling. None of my friends wanted to solo travel. That's why I started it. That's why I started Females Flying Solo, because I wanted to travel with girlfriends. I wasn't really bothered if they were single or not, but I just wanted to have that shared experience. And actually, a lot of the girls that do come on our trips are in relationships. You don't necessarily always feel that divide or that I wouldn't even say divide, but that difference between people. Like, I travel all the time with women that have got houses, that are in relationships. But because we've got the shared understanding and shared joy of traveling, we're not focused about them being engaged. Likewise, we're not also focused on me being single all the time. We're so much more interested in other things that are going on around us that are made more fun. And having that experience, having that community and shared understanding is so, so, so important. And I think it's very important that you find friends actually that you have interests with, that outside of just being single. Because I think if you do just have friends that you connect with just because they're single, that can get a little bit toxic as well. Because what's going to happen if one of you finds a boyfriend? That's it. You will lose a friend because your connection was over the fact that you're single. So then what's going to happen then? You're going to lose that friend. You need to find connections. You need to find things to do outside of just, oh, well, let's be friends because we're single. No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it might. Don't get me wrong. That might serve you at one point in your life, but I think it's so important. And another community that I have personally found recently is playing paddle. I found an incredible community through playing paddle, and it's just been amazing because I go to paddle and I can have a laugh, I can have a giggle with everyone that's there, and it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you've got kids, because we're chatting about paddle on other things, and it's fun. It's just so important because shared hobbies, shared understanding is like that sense of belonging. Those are my two pieces of advice. So just to wrap this up, you are not behind. Your path is unique. You are on your own timeline. Being single is actually such a beautiful stage in your life. If you find aligned people, put yourself out there, find a community. You will never truly feel alone, even if you are single or not. Yeah, if any of this resonated or you enjoyed this, please send me a DM at pinkjuicepod. I love chatting to you all. Yeah, that brings me to the end of the pod. I feel like I'm getting so much more comfortable sat in these pods. And a closing ritual that we have on this podcast, like all good podcasters do, is sharing something that you did recently to fill your own cup. Something I'm trying to do recently to fill my own cup is just to take like 1 to 2 hours every morning to myself, even if it does mean getting up earlier. I am an early bird, so just taking 2 hours to myself to journal, to read, to reflect. You know what? Sometimes even if it just means spending 2 hours in bed scrolling, if that's something that I need, like I take and give myself that time, and it just sets me up for the day because I've had me time, and I would much rather have me time in the morning than me time in the evening. And so that's something I've been doing to fill my own cup. If you enjoyed this, then please make sure to subscribe, to follow along, to comment if anything resonated. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. I will see you on the next episode of the Pink Juice Pod. And that is that. And I have to go to the dentist now.